this drawing is you take a look at the previous sketches trying to show the three tones, the light, the dark, and the medium, but then this one's overshadowed by the dark symbol that's on it to try to show the difference in contrast of the colors or values depending on which medium you're using. So this next one, just a simple cube that's been cut out, and again it shows the flat view listed with two patterns, and you're trying to visually and mentally place that into your idea of placing this together. So this drawing is just starts off as a cube and still using this three angles. I'm just going to go off into the margin just a little bit, but just setting up this panel, and if you can imagine that being in the three-dimensional piece, isometrically drawn in there, it's just a regular cube, and this is just going to extend to where this meets, and since I'm in the margin, it's going to drop right down, kind of an imaginary line right there, a hidden line. So that's the cube that's there, and then it's just a matter of following the center line. The top piece is divided equally, so if I did draw this section, it's going to find the center point right here, and that's going to be the midsection of this part. Even if I cross the diagonal line, it would still follow through that line, geometrically placing it there. And then coming down the front, since the setup is right here, here's the center line right to there, and same with this direction. So you're just cutting this piece out and projecting it back there, and since it's equal measure, this distance is exactly the same as this distance cutting across. Just have to line it up perfectly. And then this part is coming straight down. It'll intersect on pieces. There's lines there to help you. Had you drawn them out yourself, that would have been the location to it. So it's pretty straightforward. On that one, just a cube that has a section missing, and then again using a straight edge to just locate the line again, just to be a linear drawing, to be a little more clear on this. And these three lines, if you didn't have the help, it would be parallel in this form of drawing, the isometric drawing, and if it was perspective, they'd be cascading there, which we'll get into a little later. But all these are 30-degree lines cutting across that section. And then I'll just use this straight one, lining it right up there to get myself some help. So it's almost like having a guideline or grid right on the computer, kind of taking that idea across. So there's the lineup. And usually if you had a T-square to keep the lines horizontal, in this case just using the assist of the page. So for the XY vertical and horizontal lines, the Z lines as it goes through for the three axis, and then all of these are the opposite direction, going in 30-degree lines here. Place these in there, corner to corner. So I've made them relatively heavy, but as we go through it, it's trying to shade this so that it loses there. So the light source I'm going to have coming from the right. These two are going to be pretty dark, but this is where you're trying to use any technique that you have. Again, I can start off pretty heavy just to emphasize this, just to show you a different way to analyze this. So that's going to be pretty dark, and everything is going to be a gradient stretched out that way. So just kind of connecting this as it goes, thinking of it back and forth as you think of Illustrator. The paper is pretty smooth bond paper. The last one we have is a little dark, but if you push the values, this is what I mean, like the darkest value is going to be the value of your medium, in this case the lead. And as it comes down here, it's going to have a little bit of the ambient light, making it reflective. And as I've drawn this linear, now I'm trying to lose that line, getting this atmospheric, gradient, chiaroscuro, all different types of illustrating. And then you can see it looks a little mechanical, so I can just kind of blend it haven't really used a straight edge or paper or anything like that, but just want to keep this. So this is the darkest side. Now the medium side is going to be on this front, and the top side is going to be the lightest. So since it's light against the background, you're trying to stretch that real quickly. So kind of doing the same thing, blending that real fast. I might have made it too dark, but I can always lighten that up, just kind of forcing that, changing the angle of this so it gets a smooth transition. And that's kind of building the top. And doing the same with this one. And leaving it there. And again, knowing this one's going to have the pattern on it. This one I can afford to make pretty dark right away. So by drawing the line first, it gives me a little buffer area right there. So it's tricky because you're trying to simulate a pattern as well as it being shaded, so it still can have a slight gradient. Doing the same with the foreground one. So I'm kind of shading that outline real fast just by drawing on it. Like so. Kind of having up that outline. There you have it. So now as I see it all laid out, I just have to emphasize that this line I could still soften the transition of the gradient. Same on this one here. And then here's this paper you can use as a transition. Also take an eraser and use this as what they call an erasing shield. Just kind of cleaning that up. That up. Take this line out. And here I'm just doing very light all the way to the light of the paper. right where these three corners meet, this is where it's going to have the most contrast. And I can also use this as a, whether you have a pencil eraser, this one's just a kneaded eraser. I can use it as a stencil and create a highlight going right along that edge. And then I can go back up to it and just highlight it a little bit. So a simple shape has the light, dark side, and the medium, which happens to have the symbol, and that forces it to become dark.